Thanks, folks, for tuning in, and we think you'll enjoy this broadcast of Stock Car Facts as we worked for a while to get this guest on. So please sit back and enjoy the show.
Well, of course he looks all right. I mean, nobody sees you to know what all right ain't looking like.
he produces our stuff.
He does a good job.
So I was just always asking what he thinks, because he's the one behind the camera.
Well, I will tell the folks watching, thanks for tuning into Stock Car Facts. And what we were talking about is I'm here in the Chiefs Pit here in Level. Is this Randleman or Level Cross?
Well, it's Level Cross, but our mailing address is Randleman.
Okay.
But we have our own little...
Sorry, folks, got to adjust that.
we have our own little town, but Randleman is the mailing address. So you don't go wrong either way.
It'll get to you.
Yeah.
So we're here in Level Cross in the Chiefs Pit, and what we were talking about is I'm here with Ritchie Petty, with a T, like Ritchie Valens.
Yeah.
And
T for terrific.
Can't argue with that. And we were talking about producing of YouTube shows, and for all the fans out there, you want to hear some terrific. I'm totally addicted to you guys. I mean,
well, thank you.
Just knock it off. I can't do anything else but watch you guys' shows. And it's called Petty Brothers, Petty Brothers Racing, or Petty Brothers.
Petty Brothers Racing, yeah.
And tune in.
What happened was, on any given Friday or Saturday, these people's always coming in and hanging out here. I mean, we've become kind of the retirement home for old racers. So everybody wants to come in and hang out with us.
Ben Friston Central.
Yeah, and my son and Mark's and Timmy's daughter and son, our kids, more or less, we tell them stories about their Pawpaw Chief and their grandfather Lee and Richard and all that through the years. And but older we get, sometimes we're starting to forget our stories. So Ram and Judson, Ramsey's my son and Judson's Mark's son, they had to, hey, why don't y'all film this and archive it for us, so we'll have it through the years. So we started just putting it together, and then Ramsey had the bright idea to put it on the YouTube, and it's took off pretty good. It's still a small channel, and then we enjoy doing it, but I think we got 6,000 subscribers.
Yeah, you guys grew pretty quick.
But the racing world, what we figure is there's probably 6,000 Petty fans left, and we got them all.
It'll definitely catch on, because I've seen you guys do the crossover things. You did Rick Houston's deal.
Yeah.
So I love it. I just grew up a Petty fan. 1974 was my first ever race in Michigan, and so that blue and, well, I call it fire red. I don't know what you guys call it.
Right.
First time go by, that's my car. And It's been ever since. And so anything Petty.
I'll take you out back in a little bit, and I'll show you. Timmy's working on a restoration of the '74 Dodge.
Really?
And,
wow.
We're about done with it, and just a few more adjustments, and it's going to go out the door. But yeah, it's the '74 winner, and the only difference is
the 500.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's there's a Hemi in it now.
Oh my!
And before the race was won with that wedge, so that's a little different. But we've enjoyed messing with it for the last several years, and we get people in here like helping us. Timmy's in charge of this deal. Me and Mark will help a little bit, but Will End, he's done a lot, and Travis Owens, he's been here doing a lot. But yeah, they've done a super job.
I also do PR for Brad Smith, and he used to have that old Cordoba that Buddy Arrington had.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were just talking about Texas '91 a little bit ago before we went to recording here, and your dad come over and took a look at that car and said it was ours. I'm sure you can tell the way they built things, and Brad has since sold it back, because Buddy Arrington had it for a while, and he's since sold it back. And the rumor was that was the '74 Daytona 500 winning car until later, and it was straightened out.
Yeah, that was the '74 is back here. So
that'd be neat to see. That'd be great. Will you guys tour that around, or will you just?
Well, no, it ain't ours.
I see.
Timmy got the. He's just restoring it. I think it came from, I don't know the whole story. It was Richard's, and they sold it to a fella, and then he wanted it restored, and Timmy took it on, and then because Timmy was going to do the engine work.
Okay.
And see through the years, this we've raced, we've run our engine shops and stuff like that. And Timmy, that's the oldest. He works over at RCR. He's still involved. He's probably the only Petty really still involved hands-on in racing now.
Wow.
Mark, he works up here with Richard and the museum, and hell, I guess you could say I'm retired. I just do about what I want to do. We still got our shop. We still got a full engine shop. We'll tinker with stuff. But Timmy, during the weekends or whatever, he takes on these little projects and does restorations, and he enjoys it. Through the years, my kids were, I went and done travel ball, like baseball, basketball, and now they've all in college and grown up. Now I'm back in the shop hanging out. But it's like Daddy, he was like, why in the world would you travel around and go play baseball here and go there? I'm like, Daddy, it ain't no different when we raced. We went around.
Why would I travel? Look what you're talking about. Talk about travel.
My son played college baseball, and my daughter now, she's playing college basketball. So I still get some enjoyment watching them.
And full-time racing, you get to do that.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I took all these old timers I grew up with. They always said, man, I wished I'd have took time with my kids. I wish I'd have done it. I was blessed. I was able to take time with my kids and do things. And then I was blessed to be able, for the last 10 or 15 years of my dad's life, to help him. After my mom died, he needed a lot more help because of his polio and stuff. And I took that role. And so that's why I got away from the racing a little bit and stay away from the garage.
And it's something that you don't regret. I just lost my dad in August, lost my mom in November. So it's something you don't, now you can't go back and go, I wish I'd spent more time.
I spent as much time as I could, and I lived across the road from him, and we seen each other for every day, seems like for, last several years. And I always joked when he died that day that that was the only boss man I ever had. So didn't only lose my dad, I lost my boss man. So.
Yeah, wow. No, I hear you. My grandpa used to work for Union 76, Pure Oil first in Union 76, and he up in the Midwest he would tour this tanker Model T with a tank on the back, and he would take it to state fairs in late 60s, early 70s. He would take it to the state fairs and MIS, and that's how he and my dad got to really involved in racing. And so, goes down to the next generation. My wife said one day, she said, well, you probably like racing because of your dad. And I said, well, my dad liked to camp and I hate it. So racing is a kind of a funny deal, and it's neat that all the brothers got involved in racing.
Well, we didn't have nothing else to do. I mean, grandfather and his brother Julie started it in 47, 48 doing outlaw races, and then they turned it into a real business in 49 when NASCAR got up and going. And then Daddy and Richard, they grew up. I always told Daddy and Richard, now he's still alive, but them was the only two guys for a long time had been to every dang cup race from the beginning.
Isn't that crazy to think of?
It was awesome.
Wow.
But then Kyle come along, and Kyle's 8 years older than me.
Okay.
And Timmy's 6 years, so they come in about the same time, and then me and Mark come along a few years later, and but yeah, that's all we knew was there. We grew up in the racing. I mean, you got to think, I'm probably born in June of '68, and I was probably at a race by the time July hit, probably in Daytona. You know what I mean?
Your first time through the dyno, right?
Yeah, right. No, we'd sit over at the house, and these dynos run day and night. It was just, that's just the way it was. We thought everybody raced.
Yeah. I noticed that you drove, obviously, and then Mark drove a little bit, but Timmy never drove.
Timmy drove a few races over here at the local track Caraway, in like a pure stock type deal, and he ran a few races. But that was '82 when he was coming along, and there was a lot of work going on here because we was running two cars with Kyle and Richard, so he didn't have the time to put forth the driving career. and there wasn't enough money at the time because we had 2 cars running.
There weren't enough to do the 2 from everything we've ever heard.
Right. So, well, there was plenty of money. It was just
where to put it.
But she was running. I mean, because you got to think during that time, that was the heyday of Petty's. It was coming off up until '83 when it shut down. But there was money, and they was running 2 cars, but we just had a lot of employees here and was doing a lot of things. But it was good times. I mean, we were rolling.
So we talked about being named Richard.
Right. Well,
is that the blessing or the curse?
Well, I guess it goes either way. I mean, I was just at the doctor's office this week, and the woman looked down and said, "Richard Petty," and I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm not the cowboy."
I'm missing a couple things here.
Right. So I'm a little younger too, but not much. But no, I guess the story goes, 68 there, the mama had told Richard, if you win the race this weekend or whatever, I'll name him after you or whatever if he's born.
Well, that's almost a no-brainer,
Well, yeah, and he ended up winning, so I just named Richard. And but yeah, through the years, I mean, I go by Ritchie, and but yeah, when I was a kid and all, doctor's offices, like I said, they call out your name, you get some funny looks. But yeah, I guess it helped a little bit being recognized, but it hurt more in the racing business because they were expecting to see Richard Petty.
Sure.
And as I said, running through our, we come along, timing's everything.
Sure.
And I think our timing in the racing world was kind of a bad timing because that's when racing really took off. Everybody was, short. It was good for racing because every short track you went to, you'd have 30 cars trying to make a race. This was local tracks, and the ARCA deal was rolling.
Oh yeah,
the Cup side was rolling, and but anyway, we're trying to get sponsorship. You're competing not only against 50, 60 other teams to get that little bit of sponsorship money, but we were competing against our family, Ritchie and Kyle. So do you look at it as a sponsor, and you got a chance to be sponsoring Petty?
They say, "Oh, Richard Petty." Oh, right. Richard Petty.
Well, not just that, because we had a lot of interest.
Sure.
A lot of interest. But then sometimes their stuff would end up on Kyle's or Richard's car because they could get more bang for their buck.
Sure.
With a bigger name. And so, in NASCAR, they help people get sponsorships and all that, but I think they steered them back towards the bigger cars because we were just a small time deal.
Sure.
But when we come along for ARCA, I think I ran that Michigan race in '91, and I've done pretty good. But anyway, by the time we went to Atlanta that year, we went into Atlanta, and you had Junior Johnson, Richard Childress, Mellon. All the Cup teams they all had the teams running the ARCA race because they were trying stuff for next year.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a heck of a deal. I think I ended up qualifying 11th or so for that race, and we ended up running 9th or something. That was a heck of a. That was a lot better than what it says for what we went up against.
Sure.
I out-qualified in that race. My qualifying time was actually better. It was good enough to make the Cup race. Okay. I was faster than Richard. I think I ran 174, 175. I was faster than him. He didn't take kind of that because that's the first time I ever been to Atlanta.
Well, I'm gonna back up a little bit and go back to the Sportsman series.
Yes. Oh yeah.
What in the wow?
Well, the Sportsman series did come along.
Woo.
Yeah, but we come along. It was a pretty good time. But there was actual real drivers trying to come out of the.
I don't mean to disparage the series, but we've seen some of the results from it.
I mean, yeah. It's,
you started in '88 and they ended in '95, I believe.
Yeah, we run.
That's when it was getting bad.
We run a couple of years, and I had just come out of late models, and I'd run a Daytona Dash race over at Charlotte and all that. And we were trying to figure, is it time to move on or not? And we figured, well, we'll probably do some more late model racing. And then Humpy come up with this idea and called us and said, hey, I'm thinking about doing this for '89, this Sportsman series, which I'll be interested in, trying to get some people to commit. And we was like, yeah, sure. So we went to some of the meetings and stuff that they had. Yeah, it sounded like a good deal. You took your late model engine, which you could run on Saturday night. You could run it over here at Charlotte. It was a 2-barrel, I guess we had 350 horsepower or something. It wasn't much. And maybe somewhere in there, 320, 350. But you run it over at Charlotte, 2-barrel carburetor. You could run wide open. Their deal was you took old Cup cars, old Busch cars. You could get them at discount because back then everybody had cars they was trying to get rid of. And then you could go over there and they put you on old tires. Like I think the first couple of races we run like old Daytona tires.
Oh, wow.
And you could get them a little cheaper. But you could go basically wide open. Well, there was probably some people that didn't need to be in the series. They didn't really have racing experience. But for the majority of us was old late model Saturday night racers. I mean, I know a lot of guys because I'd raced against a lot of them through the years, and I think it was a pretty good series. It was really good because it was a good stepping stone to ARCA, because then you went from 320, 350 horsepower up into the 650s. You know what I mean? So you learn how to run some of them cars and stuff, and it really helped me adjust to the ARCA. So it was beneficial. The problem I had, Richard had an old 2+2 that he'd wrecked. The rear clip on it was knocked off, and we bought that off of them, and we rebuilt that. And Billy Bisco was helping us, and we got that. That's what we went and raced. It was a rear steer Pontiac 2+2. So the ding, ding, ding. As a driver, as a kid, I didn't know what was going on. But now looking back on it, there was 2 or 3 things that was going against me, but it actually helped me, because the 2+2 was a terrible race car for speedways. I mean, Rusty Wallace could make it work, but anyway,
big bubble on the back.
Yeah. It was terrible. And with the front steer on that thing, the rear steer. Excuse me. The rear steer on that thing made it so tight. I was always in a push.
Oh boy!
And so you're trying to run wide open.
So you need a Charlotte.
Yeah, and you can't lift because it's just like restrictor plate racing. So I'm always in a push. No matter what we did, I couldn't ever get the push out of it. Anyway, ended up crashing that car over there, and we put a Monte Carlo body on it. Well, even with the rear steer, the Monte Carlo, it turned into a pretty good race car, but it was still a little bit skatey. When we went to the ARCA race in '91, that was a front steer Laughlin, and I went into Michigan, and I qualified 6th.
Yes, you did.
That was the first lap on the racetrack because we'd broke a transmission, and my first full lap on the racetrack was qualifying. And because of that Sportsman racing, that all over, it just felt like a dream. And we run good that day, and I ended up running. Probably could have won the race, and we ended up burning a piston there at about 20 laps to go.
Probably didn't help that it rained earlier in the day.
Yeah, that too. But it was that was an old Blue Max car, and Rusty and Barry Dotson. I pulled in after I blowed the motor, and I lifted up the hood, and there they come over. They was just laughing. They was pointing because I mean they knew what car it was. And they knew what engine and all that. It was just that was kind of fun. But yeah, we probably could have won that race. I think Stanley Smith ended up winning. Freddie Fryer was his crew chief.
Right.
And we were in good shape because we came in that last caution was going to put tires on, and then down the backstretch the thing just burned a piston. So
We'll be looking for you next Tuesday at noon for part 2 of a 3-part series with our special guest Ritchie Petty here on Stock Car Facts.
I remember people thought we were fully funded Petty.
I wasn't sure.
Outfit,
and I didn't want to ask.
No, we wasn't. We were out of Maurice's pocket.
We'll see you then.